So our manager for the last 10 years, Alan, says he's had enough of the music business. And he takes us to one side and says, guys, I'm going to go back to uni. And I'm going to do a degree. And I'm going to get out of the music business because it's destroying me.
And ends up being a doctor at the end of it, but that's another story.
There was still people offering us gigs. There was still stuff to do. So I took over managing Hue And Cry, and I called it Philip Smith Management. One of the first things I had to deal with was we got a phone call from Lynn Records, who were a subsidiary of Lynn Hi-Fi, who one of Scotland's most famous hi-fi manufacturers. So they wanted to make a jazz record, and Pat and I spoke to them and said that we had a long tradition with jazz, with Ron Carter and the Brecker Brothers and all the New York guys that we'd worked with. We said, maybe I had said, we can get them on this jazz record. And I think Lynn Records' eyes all lit up saying, okay.
Yeah. Hadn't quite got them yet, but thought that we could get them.
Just me, I wanted to seal the deal.
Listen, chance away, Philip Smith Management.
My big plan was we would record it during the Glasgow Jazz Festival. Coming over for that jazz festival was Michael Brecker playing with McCoy Tyner, Randy Brecker doing his free jazz thing, Mike Stern doing his kind of fusion thing, Danny Gottlieb, the drummer, was over. So I thought, I'll approach them and see if they'll come and play our album. So we got the backing tracks done, and we were just waiting for the jazz festival to start. I still had to phone these people.
I mean, that balls out call, Gregor.
When you phone America, you get that.
Did you do?
And I was hoping he was going to pick up. But he didn't pick up. He went, leave your message after the blood. Mike and Sue ain't in right now, Susie's wife. So I went, hi, Michael. And I did my thing. There was 2 messages on my answer machine. So I played the first one, and I said, hey, Greg, it's Michael. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, let's do it. It's all working. Let's make it happen. And I was like, thank God for that. That's brilliant. And then the next message went and says, hello, Greg, it's Barry McGuigan here. Can I get into your gig at the Jazz Cafe? Put my name down. Barry McGuigan +2. I'll see you there. And the answer machine stopped, and my pal David went, really? Michael Brecker and Barry McGuigan on your answer machine?
Yeah, but Winona Ryder was on after that, was she not?
When I swim, I think I'm sinking.
So Michael Brecker agreed to come and play, and there was 2 songs that he was going to play on. There was a song called Virus of Love and a song called I'll Be There For You. I went to see him at the Fruit Market in Glasgow the night of his gig with McCoy Tyner. So the plan was that I would go in after the show, take Michael up to the studio, and he would do his thing.
Yeah.
So the show didn't finish till 11:30 at night. So I get backstage and I'm standing there, and the person from the Jazz Festival says, hey, Michael McCoy, this is Greg Kane. Michael said, oh yeah, and Michael gave me a lovely embrace. And then McCoy was kind of looking at me, and Michael introduced me to McCoy Tyner. And he said, I'm going to have to do some recording with Greg just now. And McCoy's like, can I come?
Oh.
And I went, I only had £1,800.
Oh, God.
Because Michael Brecker wanted triple scale for each solo.
Yeah.
So scale is £300.
Yeah.
So I had £900 for one song and £900 for the other song.
Right.
Now, if McCoy had come up,
Yeah.
I would have to have found another £1,800. I didn't have £1,800.
And your bag of money?
So I was actually cash. I'd have cash.
You had a bag of money?
I did have a bag of money. So McCoy disappointedly looked at me and said, oh, okay, then on you go.
Oh, God. So McCoy Tyner on the record. But we had Mike Stern and the Brecker Brothers and Danny Gottlieb. I mean, you know, it's an extraordinary... You said, why don't you come along and join me in this? And I crapped out of it.
Why?
Because I thought, you'll never manage it. And I didn't want to see the disappointment on your face when people said, nah, it's okay, man, I don't want to do this anymore. But you pulled it off. And so the front cover of that record was Pat and Greg alongside a jazz pantheon who again came to a hot city, which was Glasgow. So there was so many different elements feeding together, feeding into this. The fact that the Glasgow Jazz Festival could command that level of name at that time was also a part of it. But your chutzpah, as they would say in Manhattan, to go in there and actually make connections with people. And they brought some of the loveliest playing I've ever heard is on Jazz Not Jazz. And the person who really surprised me, I think surprised everybody, and I remember the guy in the Sunday Times who was reviewing it said this, was Mike Stern. Because Mike Stern had the reputation playing with the Miles Davis jazz rock outfits of being an absolute shredder. He would just open up the pedals and fly away into the stratosphere.
He's so soft as a person. He
played so gently on the
That's the kind of person he is.
That was a surprise to the people who were reviewing it, that he could play with such sensitivity and grace and listening to the meaning of the song and responding to the song. I Am Cage is the one that I can remember most explicitly. All kudos to you for bravely going into the lion's den and pulling stuff out of it. You did it. So we're exploring our jazz tastes, life, predilections, past, present, future. We're taking the time to do it. I get the opportunity through the connection with Richard Niles, who made Showtime, to play an opening set for Ray Charles, who had been writing with Richard at the time. Great fun, full of bravura, swing. My one memory of the whole thing is of his bad temper and his shouting at people. I once read about Ray Charles that he had a great distrust of his situation because of his blindness and because of being a black man in the music business and all the rest of it, so it was always tempestuous with him. But he came out and he listened to the band swinging and completely changed his mood. He started to dance, started to sing along, started to clap his hands, started to roll his whole body about. And the mood changed from apprehension and, oh my God, what is this gig going to be like, to Ray Charles digs us and we're going to play as fabulously as we can.
And as Pat and I were galloping towards the left and left field and jazz,
leaving our audience behind,
mainstream media's trying to pull us back, and I found a clip of a guy coming on to Saturday Night TV in the UK going, "Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be Pat Kane of Hue and Cry."
Yes.
I was not looking for Linda.
We did lots of gigs promoting Jazz Not Jazz. We did a week at Birmingham's Ronnie Scott's. People were still coming to see Hue and Cry, expecting, I don't know what they were expecting, but we were in a jazz state of mind.
I'm playing jazz venues.
Yeah. But jazz clubs, they're not as cool as you think they are. Because...
Audience.
So this night in Birmingham, we took a break in between our sets.
Mm-hmm.
But in Birmingham, they decided to put a band on without telling us.
I remember that. We were furious.
So we were in the dressing room talking about how well the first half of the gig going, and all you heard was "Star trekking across the universe." Blah, 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 blah.
It was absolutely.
And I went out to the event manager and I said, "What's going on? What do you mean? Why are you putting a band on? You didn't tell us." "Oh, we always put a band on. That's the house band." I said, "But you didn't tell us they were doing that." "Oh, yeah. And they're not playing jazz." "Oh, they're just trying to get the crowd all G'd up." I was like, "What are you doing?" So when I got back to the dressing room, you'd gone, and I'd looked at the band, and they were all kind of their heads down like this, sort of saying, "He's gone, Greg." I said, "He's gone, he's gone back to the hotel." So I had to go and drive back to the hotel. You wouldn't answer your door. I was knocking the door. You wouldn't answer the door. And eventually he answered the door. And I said, "Brother," and he said, "You were quite upset actually." And he said, "I can't do this, Greg. I can't. This is what is this?"
Was that the end of my tether?
Yes, you were done.
And how did you get me back out to finish the gig? Because we would have had contractual.
Oh yeah, it's the first night.
Right.
We had a whole week ahead of us. So I eventually coaxed you out of your room.
I had an 80s meltdown.
And we got back onto the stage, and you said to the audience, "Thank God that's over," as in the crap band in the middle. And bits at the front said, "We quite like that band."
And then I got into a fight with them. we were loving being jazzers, but we were having to get used to the jazz environment, which was in many ways quite demanding for two 80s pop stars.
So our second album for Lynn, Next Move, was even more experimental.
Way out there. There's a song called 24/7 that sounds like multinational capitalism melting down in front of your eyes. That's exactly what it sounds like. So it does what it says on the tin. It also has, I think, one of the most brilliant things we've ever recorded. I'm proudest of it. Is She Moves Through the Wires. Everything on that is just at the highest level of quality. The fact that it begins with a whisper, rises to a crescendo, rises to another crescendo, ends with a whisper. I must admit, when I made that record, I thought, oh, this is my life now. We're going to go further and further into these kinds of spaces and making these kinds of records. I was incredibly proud of Next Move.
We toured it a lot with that band, with Ian and Lawrence and Tommy, and we played some amazing Cork Jazz Festival. We did the Birmingham Jazz Festival, Edinburgh Jazz Festival. We did loads and loads of jazz festivals with that band.
And we caught that lightning in a bottle on STV's box set, where it's one of the best things I think we've ever done, recorded live. But I was wearing sneakers, I was wearing crazy sunglasses. You were crouched at a piano playing brilliantly. I mean, your chops were absolutely incredible. I remember sort of thinking, if it all stopped at this performance, I would be happy with what we've done with Hue and Cry, because I think it's one of the best performances I think you'll see of a live band, in terms of we were totally played in, and we were answering each other's thoughts almost. We'd been doing so many gigs up to that point, so they caught us at one of our peak points, I think, in terms of musicianship. One of the things I've been doing through the 90s is journalism, is editorial. I was asked to be part of the founding editorial team of the Sunday Herald, which launched in 1999. But the weird story about it that I can tell is that I'm sitting at my desk, at my terminal, and round the corner a guy called Barry, who was working with me, had a copy of Next Move in his hand. And he said, "You're still doing this? Are you still doing this?" And he said, "This is amazing."
Oh.
I said, "Thank you, Barry." I said, "Yes, I am still trying to make records." And he just said, "Don't stop. Don't stop. This is amazing." So it's a very strange time, the late 90s, for us both. There's lots of creativity going on, but sometimes it's in wildly different places and doing wildly different things. But, you know, at least you're alive and you're thinking and you're vital. At least you can say that about yourself. Everybody give them a cheer.
That's kicking. I enjoy that.